Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't been here before, my name is Kian. Thank you so much for watching this video. It's just going to be a Q&A, but I personally love watching Q&As. They're definitely my favorite videos to watch, so I hope you guys like them too. If you haven't watched my videos before, I typically do videos related to my faith, lifestyle, and everything in between. I recently just started a Get Healthy With Me series, so be sure to watch that. I'll have it over here. But without further ado, let's get into the questions. I asked you guys on Instagram, but I also asked you on the YouTube community page. Also, please pardon the lighting going in and out. I hope there's no more clouds, but I moved somewhere that has clouds. In Arizona, we didn't really have many clouds, so I didn't have to deal with the lighting changes, but we will figure it out together, okay? So, I'm gonna go on the YouTube community first and see what you guys asked there. The first question is, how did you find real friends and did it take a long time? So, I think I'm gonna do a whole video on how to make friends because now that I've moved, I basically have to start from scratch. But in Arizona, I was just really blessed to meet a lot of people through my young adult community at church. And I find like people who have their lives rooted in Christ typically almost always make better friends because they are loving me from a place as their sister in Christ instead of in a worldly way. So I find that friendships where I have the same beliefs, they typically can support me better and love me better in a more genuine way. So that's the first thing, is I would find people who have the same beliefs as you. Did it take me a long time? I mean, I met some girls through in college, but I only remained close with I think like 2 of them. As far as like meeting Christian people, it didn't take long because it was kind of a snowball effect. I met one Christian woman and she introduced me to like 7 more, and then at church the community was just growing, and as soon as I just decided to be more involved and go to all the events, it was really easy to start meeting other women. So I would say it didn't take too long. It was kind of a snowball. Sometimes you just need to meet one person and they can introduce you to everybody else. I know that's not always the case, but for me it was definitely a blessing. Next question is, am I dating or am I talking to someone? So I haven't been on any dates. I can't even remember my last date. It was before I moved. Yeah, I have no idea when my last date was. However, I'm thinking about doing another Single Diaries video where I talk about something that happened recently, where I met somebody at the wedding, Maddie's wedding, and how I kind of navigated that. Although I was talking to somebody briefly, but more of like a friendship, getting to know where they're at. I wouldn't label it as like we were talking because I quickly realized he wasn't someone I wasn't interested in, and just didn't have the same foundation of beliefs. So yeah, I wouldn't consider that talking. Would you ever do a meet and greet? Yes, I would love to do a meet and greet. Maybe it would be cool to be, now that I have like a smaller community, I just don't know how many people would show up. So, if I can get like 5 or 10 of you together and you guys want to meet up somewhere, let's do it. I would love to do that. How did I get my community here on YouTuber? She's a small Christian YouTuber and she's finding it hard to reach her intended audience. So God really blessed me with my testimony video, and from that I think is where all my community formed, is they saw that video and then saw I made other faith related videos. So I would just say stay consistent in the type of videos you're making. How do you deal with rejection or when someone you like doesn't share the same feelings? That used to be hard and I used to take it personally, but now that I know my foundation and my worth, it is so much easier to deal with any rejection. I just know that at the end of the day, I'm only going to marry one person, so why do I need validation from all these other people if at the end of the day they're not the right one for me? And just because I have feelings for someone doesn't mean they're always going to reciprocate them, and I've just come to terms with that is totally okay, and it's nothing personal. They just might be looking for something different. And it's like the same way for me. When I get a message from somebody or certain guys have expressed interest and I'm not interested in return, it's nothing personal against them, and I hope they know that. They're just not exactly what I'm looking for, or, you know, they're just not my person. And I just think we need to stop taking things so personally and letting rejection affect us and what we believe about ourselves. Like, I've been rejected, and that's totally fine because it is a blessing in the long run. I'm not trying to tally up how many people I can date. I know, like, I'm in this for the end goal and the one person that I'm going to marry. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how many times I get rejected, as long as there's that one person who doesn't reject me, I guess, you know, in the end. How are you doing with adjusting to your move? Have you found any community? Thanks for asking. The first few weeks were definitely hard, way harder than I expected. Yeah, I was kind of like at a low place, pretty down. I was lacking inspiration, just wasn't in a great mental place, and I thought moving away from all my friends would get me closer to God because I'd have to lean on him more, but instead I was kind of resisting that. But then I finally called someone, had them pray for me, and since that prayer, things have flipped a switch and I'm feeling a lot more fulfilled here, inspired. I started decorating my room so I would feel more inspired in my environment. As far as community, I am in the process of making community. I definitely have met up with a few people. I am going to make a whole separate video on how to make friends because that's the process I'm going through now, and I feel like I have some creative ideas on how to do that. But I would say I have started to make community. I've met up with a few girls for coffee. I've gotten involved. I'm going to my first like small Bible group tomorrow. So yeah, I'm definitely in the beginning stages of finding community. Someone asked my favorite place to go to get cute clothes from. I would love to start sharing more fashion related content on here. I actually just got this dress from a place called Shop Downtown, so I will have it linked below. But other places, I mean, typically I'll go to like Poshmark and find things from brands like Sabo Skirt or Showpo or Urban Outfitters and just buy them at a lesser price. I do love Urban Outfitters, but typically I only shop there when they have sales, like when they have 40% off dresses and rompers, I'll buy like 3. I'll always shop their sale section. Other places, if I'm looking for something more trendy, I'll go to Forever 21. Showpo I love. Yeah. Typically I just go on Instagram, and if I see a girl's outfit, I'll like save it and see like what brands are tagged and kind of just go on a downhill spiral from there. My sister asked, what's the best part about moving back home? And keep it positive. Keeping it positive. The best thing about being at home is there's not a lot of distractions, I guess. So there's not a lot of temptation to put off things. Okay, sorry about there's a cloud. So yeah, there's not a lot of distractions, so I can really focus in on YouTube and other things that I've been wanting to spend more time on. So that's probably one of the best parts. Also, being around my family is great. Thanks for working out with me, Jonah. How am I doing mentally? Mentally, I feel like I'm in a good place. Obviously, ups and downs with transition. So I would say if you asked me this 2 weeks ago, I would not have been doing good mentally, but I feel like I'm on the up. So thanks for asking. What would you advise Christian girls struggling with pornography? I do have a video with Cooper on porn, so you guys can watch that. I personally do not struggle with that, so it's hard for me to give you my advice, and I'm so sorry you do struggle with that, like no judgment. I would definitely find an accountability buddy, definitely be praying about it, definitely find someone to confide in and talk to about it, because I find things we keep in the dark, the devil likes to use those to keep us trapped in them, but the more we share, the less power the devil has. So if you're struggling with this, tell somebody, find an accountability buddy that you can check in with. At one Bible study, a girl did share that she struggled with it, so just know you're not alone. I would love to like reach out to her and see what kind of advice she has, but I know she talks to her parents about it. and she's free from it now. So just know that God can heal you and completely break those temptations off of you. So just have faith in that. Emily asks, is every relationship that doesn't end in marriage not God's plan for us? That is an interesting question. I feel like this question could be taken in a couple different ways. My perspective on it is that God totally uses relationships to teach us lessons and help us grow. At least in my life, like, a lot of relationships are responsible for who I am as a person, and I've learned a lot for them. I think he does not want us to have any sexual intimacy with people from before marriage. So in that way, like, if you were being intimate with your boyfriends, I don't think that's God's plan for us. However, I do think he uses relationships to teach us a ton. It's just about it's just about having healthy boundaries within those relationships so you don't go outside of God's plan. After becoming Christian, did you start worrying about telling your future spouse your past? That is a great question, and there was like a couple minutes, like, overall, I knew that I was completely transformed, and I believed that with everything inside of me. And therefore, because I believed in what God said, I saw myself from that light. I could understand if I was still seeing myself. Oh, my pimple scab just came off. But I will say there were moments, like, overall, I mean, I've shared my testimony online, so I figured, you know, if he's truly a man of God and he has forgiveness in his heart, then he will be able to look past what I've done in my past. So I do have faith, like, whoever I'm supposed to end up with will see me through God's eyes and not through, like, when the devil had a hold of me. And anyone who doesn't see me that way is not the person for me, and I'm totally accepting of that. Like, if you do not forgive me the way Jesus, like, asks us to, then you're not meant to be my husband. But I will say I have worried, like, very briefly when these situations came up, and maybe I, like, was going to share my testimony with a man, and those thoughts did run through my head, but I had to remember, like, that is not God speaking. That is the devil talking and whispering in my ear and telling me I need to be ashamed of my past. So I tried my best to shut that voice up really quickly. Someone asked if I am in school. No, I graduated from Arizona State University about 2 years ago. A couple people asked, like, why I moved out of Arizona, or, like, what made me move. I think I've talked about this before, but I moved to save money, and I just felt like in my heart this is where God wanted me for some reason. But yeah, the main purpose of me moving was because I get to live with my parents. That means I get to save an extra $800 a month from, like, rent and utilities and all that stuff. So yeah, the main purpose was to save money, and I don't plan to be here more than a year, and then I'm going to move somewhere else, which I haven't told you guys yet. What inspired you to start a YouTube channel, and what did you plan for your life, I think is what she meant to say. So I actually started my YouTube channel when I was in 8th grade. Hey guys, so I just got back from the gym. I did abs and legs today. There's been a lot of questions about my workout routine, so this is what I've been doing recently. A lot of the first moves for the abs are from the Blogilates Bikini Blaster 3 abs video. Editing Kian here. How funny was that clip? And, like, listen to my accent. Oh my gosh, I had such a Chicago accent. That's so funny. And I loved watching people's videos. I used to do hair tutorials on my MacBook. Yeah, so I think what inspired me was I was just passionate about makeup and hair, and I just wanted a place to express that creativity. So that's what originally inspired me to do it, but now what inspires me is just knowing that my videos can bring comfort to people in the same season of life as me, that they can show people to God, and I get to share my experience of what God has done in my life, and that is what inspires me now. Okay, so the next question is, what are your future career goals and what are your passions? So as far as career goals, I would love to make YouTube my full-time job. So I would say in the next year, that would be awesome. If by the time I leave Illinois, YouTube was my full-time job, that would be my goal. Other than that, I am wanting to start an online boutique, so that has always been a goal of mine, selling like faith-related products and just like spreading God's love through like the products. So that is a big goal of mine. Another goal, like way down the line, I would love to write a book. And I would also love, like with my future husband, to do like video series on marriage and relationships in a godly way. So those are some future goals I have. When do you think you'll start dating again? So, I mean, this is really in God's plan. I'm not really craving or wanting or looking for a relationship right now, just because I feel like this season is like a transition season. However, I'm open to it, so like if a good godly man comes along and wants to take me on a date, I will go on one. However, with that being said, I'm having a lot of discernment with the men who do approach me, just knowing that I'm on the same page. And now that I'm just at this place where I'm so comfortable being single, I'm not in a rush to go on dates or say yes to every guy that walks my way, just because I have a very clear understanding of what I want, and I don't want to waste that person's time or have them invest emotionally in me and same back. Like, I do not want to have any emotional investment in someone that I know will not be my husband. But I'm open to it, okay? Another good question, do you ever feel uncomfortable talking about your faith? I would say sometimes, but I'm learning to get better. I think it just takes practice and just really practicing how to share in the most genuine way. Like when I'm giving advice, or I'm just like, okay, how do I incorporate Jesus into this? Like, how can I, sometimes I'm just like, especially if I know they don't really believe, it's kind of hard for me to incorporate God in my advice, but I've been doing a better job of doing it anyways, even if it is a little bit uncomfortable, or even if I know they don't completely resonate with God or what I'm saying. I do my best. But at work recently, I got to share my testimony, and I just did it so freely. So I also think it depends who I'm talking to, because the person who was asking me about it was like super interested, and I enjoyed having that conversation. So yeah. Someone asked, what are you looking for in a man? First and foremost, loves Jesus, has surrendered his life to God, and is led by God. That is like, if he could have everything else on my list, but if that's not there, then I have to cut the tie. Some other things, someone who is ambitious, creative, childlike, like super fun and silly and goofy and can make me laugh. Someone who is spontaneous, caring, trustworthy, dependable, will make a good father, responsible, but also like will buy a plane ticket and go to a random place with me at the same time. A good balance of responsible and spontaneous. Chivalrous men, start opening girls' car doors again. I'm bringing it back. Someone asked how to be a strong, independent woman and still letting him pursue you at the same time. I feel like being independent is the perfect place to be pursued, because you're independent in yourself and in your faith, and you know you don't need to depend on these other people. And when you know that, that's a perfect place for someone to pursue you, because then you're not pursuing them. But maybe where the issue relies is you're giving off this vibe that I don't need no man. It's like, yes, we don't need a man, but we can still have this like openness to it at the same time. Like, there has to be a balance. You can't just be like, I don't need no man, and then just walk around, because then you're going to be unapproachable. So I think you just need to find a balance of like, I definitely don't need a man. I don't need to find my worth in you. But, you know, if you're a good godly man, like, hit me up. I feel like there just has to be a balance. How do you keep your heart on fire for God in every season? I mean, that's a good question that I'm still figuring it out. I think just having grace and knowing that I don't need to compare my heart in this season to last season. It's all going to be an up and down. It's a relationship. Relationships are ups and downs. I think there should be a bottom line that you don't let your relationship drop below. Like, you should always have a good base. Everything above that base is going to go up and down based on like what you're going through in life and what challenges you're facing. But as long as you have like a steady foundation that never changes, I feel like the roller coaster is just a part of life and something you should accept. What's your favorite Bible verse right now? Shout out to Allie, because she asked me a bunch of questions. Let's see, I have a note in my phone. I need to be better about like memorizing verses, because that really comes in handy. I really like Ephesians 2:8-9. By grace you have been saved through faith, and not that of yourselves. It is the gift of God, not of works, lest anyone should boast. And I think I really love that verse, because it's just a reminder, a very humbling reminder, that anywhere we are in our faith has nothing to do with us, and it has everything to do with God. Like, all glory to God. And therefore we should never think of ourselves as better than anybody else, no matter what they're doing or where they're falling short. Like, we are all the same. And I think that if like everyone just held on to that verse, Christians wouldn't be perceived as so judgmental, because they would know that every sin is equal and we are no better than anyone else. And if we were living a less sinful life than someone else, it has nothing to do with us and what we're capable of. It has everything to do with God. So I've been loving that verse. And yeah, an analogy someone showed me is like, when God looks down from heaven, like on earth, we're like, oh, sexual sin, like way up here. And then there's like, oh, lying over here. Oh, like talking badly about someone. Yeah, that's about this much of a sin, and this much and this much. And then God's just like looking down on all of us, and everything looks the same. And we're just sitting over here like comparing how tall people's sins are. Like, no, God is looking down on us laughing and like, get over yourselves, because it all looks the same to me. Like, you saying something bad about that person is just as bad as killing somebody. So shut up. Although I don't think God would tell us to shut up, but like, maybe he would. He gets a little feisty in the Bible sometimes, so I'll take a shut up from God if I'm ever starting to compare people's sins. Like, not my place, not anybody's place. What's your go-to worship song right now? Let's pull up my playlist. I'll link it below if you guys want my worship playlist. I add to it very slowly, because I really like want to make sure I love the song before I put it on. So it's kind of smaller. I think there's only about 50 songs. But I mean, like, Reckless Love will always be my OG. Some more recent songs that I've really loved are Anthony Evans. I've been loving like his remixes of songs. Oh, there's this new song that I came across on my like Spotify weekly, and it's a Love Yourself remix, but like Christian. It's pretty sweet.
The way he sees your soul, maybe you could learn to love yourself. And if you start to hear the still small voice, then maybe you could go and trust yourself.
Someone asked, what is the most impactful experience you have shared with others about your faith? Well, obviously I've shared my testimony, so that has been super impactful. But I think my favorite story to share where I've seen like God do work is with one of my friends. She was really struggling to get over an ex-boyfriend, and it was like very toxic, and there was some sorts of abuse involved, and it was really heavy. And I just saw God show up so much this one night, and I literally, so I like went to the service, and I kept telling her she needed to come. I didn't know why, but she needed to be there, and she was like going through a lot, and she like didn't want to come, and I was like, I will pick you up right now, like let's go to church, we need to be there. And she like didn't work out. I didn't pick her up. I ended up going by myself, and just like the first 45 minutes I just was like praying so hard for her, and I was just like, I just really felt this overwhelming sense like she needed to be there. And I was like, I texted her, I was like, hey, it's not too late, and like I just kept praying and worshiping, and like 45 minutes later she texted me saying she was on her way, and I was like, what? She's coming. Okay, so then she shows up at church, and you know, it's like 45 minutes in, so most people wouldn't decide to come randomly after they're having a mental breakdown, but like God made a way. So then she shows up at church, and the like service speaks right to her, and afterwards I'm just sitting there and like praying, and I'm just like literally like I'm just like so fidgety while I'm praying, and I just like feel like I'm shaking, and I just keep repeating over and over again like, God, break the chains, God, break the chains. And I like can't stop like fidgeting in my prayer, and I'm like rocking like, break the chains, break the chains. And then all of a sudden I hear this voice, and God says, it is finished. And I stop shaking, and I'm completely still, and I look up at my friend, and I said, it's finished. Like, God did it. Like, he did it. And afterwards we got more prayer for her. But the coolest thing is like, since that day, she has just grown, and like literally the attachment that was to her ex-boyfriend is gone. Like, she's completely moving on from it, and she's made so much progress, and this is the most progress she has made like since their breakup like 2 years ago. So I just saw that like God really set her free from that day, and that was like the most intense prayer, and like just the fact that he said it is finished was so cool to me. So that is probably my favorite story to share with people, and I'm sure there will be more throughout my testimony, like throughout my life. I'm so excited to see how else God shows up, but yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite things to share with people, especially because I talk a lot about relationship and breakups and how to move on for them, so I always share that one for encouragement. The dogs are barking. Okay, on that note, I'm going to wrap up this video. If you guys enjoyed this, I think the dogs did. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, leave me a comment below like what you want to see more of, because I'm now uploading 2 videos a week, Mondays and Thursdays, so I definitely need more content ideas. So if there's any requests you guys have, please leave them in a comment. Also, you can turn on post notifications so you can be one of the first to see the videos, and YouTube will notify you immediately when I push a video live. So that's awesome. You can also follow me on Instagram. I am very active on there, and there's some like real content. Like you get to see a lot of this double chin. You get to see a lot of my dance moves. So like it's really just a great place to be. I will leave that also linked below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a beautiful week. I love you. God bless.
There is a life I lead in